Hi guys, it's Jen, and I just looked at the time on my phone and it's 12:22, 1222, or 2 to the third power. Anyways, I got cool skies here in my neck of the matrix today. It's pretty awesome looking. Too bad there's a wire in the way providing electricity when there doesn't need to be one, but I apologize for the ugliness that presents itself in truth before your eyes. But look at those skies, guys, under the guise of the guys. And this here labyrinth type of maze. Yeah, pretty epic happenings over here on my corner of wherever I happen to be right now and am. A lot of profound truths made themselves known yesterday. Wow. In a big, humongabunga, ginormous way. Like, huge. And I'm so tired of talking, but I found that speaking up for yourself is a good thing, especially positive affirmations, but only when they're true about yourself. Because I've learned one big lesson here, and that is I should speak only about myself when I'm using words, because since I can't ever be another being or recreate them exactly as they are because I'm not the mother of them, I don't say anything which words are weapons too. Or also, so we have to be very mindful of the words we choose, and especially when they come out of our, most of the time, blabbermouths. It's too much chatter, too much noise, too much energy being used. And who's replacing it? Who's conserving energy? Except who's consuming it and how much? And do you know what I know? Do I know what you do? Can you quantify possibilities and then explore theories based upon those numbers or perceptions or conjurings up of the mind that form thought ideals and thought energy, and consumption versus, reduction and reuse and sustainability and conservation? Nope, it's consume, consume, consume. Well, the way energy works is if it is removed or it is released in a matter of form, somehow, some way, by the one in whom it's contained. So let's say I felt really antsy and jumpy and jittery and anxious. I would probably think a wise thing to do for myself, I would think this way, is to take a walk or do some sort of physical movement exercise to expel the energy from me, because if it accumulates, it just gets denser and denser and, gets heavy to bear. And it will be expressed, which means come out one way, shape, or form or another. So I always try to be in charge of how mine comes out, because if it gets to a boiling point and then overflows or becomes too heavy and breaks me down, I tend to, usually in actions and behaviors and definitely emotional, energetic bodies of senses in my sensory system, I feel that profoundly, even though it's not visibly perceived as in a wound or a bruise or a broken bone or something like that. But trauma is caused only by one thing, and that is abuse of. Whether you want to apply that term to abusing, punching someone who is not as strong or who is weaker in physical strength, because punching and beating and brutal, bloody sports seem to be a thing around here in my neck of the matrix. And I don't roll like that. As a matter of fact, not at all. I tend to be a caring nurturer, aka mom, mother, ma. Now I'm a G-ma, as most of you know. And for those who don't, check out some previous videos and you may find that for yourself. But I've done so much of this for 43 years, explaining myself, trying to prove myself, talking myself up and not being completely honest because maybe it was my parents and I was young and I had a drug problem that I didn't want to admit to them because I was ashamed of it. Well, how did I get the drug in the first place? Did anyone stop to think of that? No, still don't. Because if people started going back to basics and making things really simple by simplifying instead of stupefying. Thank you, Disturbed. Awesome concert back in Mayhem days. My sons, Steven, Jonathan, do we know anything about concerts and emo or metalcore or some kind of new metal that's emotional, mixed in with a little taste of this, a sprinkle of that, a dash of this, and conjured up all in the mind of the creator who creates the being in the first place. And from then on, only them are able to recreate that exact being exactly the way that exact being was when it was exactly birthed by the being who birthed it into creation in the first place. Okay, so where was I? Always justifying myself, explaining something, trying to describe something psychologically, medically, physically, emotionally, behaviorally, socially, ecologically, economically, conglomerately, monopoly style, but being real the whole time. And I got so shunned for being truthful. And you know what? Now, today, I know for a fact, everybody who's ever told me my entire life that I just want to be right and I think I'm always right. Well, guess what? I just happened to be, only it was when I was asked for good advice and I gave it to someone who was other than I, me, myself, and I, me, Jen, and taking from myself, giving to another, that's where I have a problem deciding who's greater than or lesser than or above average, superior, gifted, or genius to below average, retarded, or imbecile. I have a problem with those terms because they hurt the feeling, emotional bodies energetically, which women like myself, which again, I can only speak for myself and my experience, how I have perceived it, because that's all I do know. And I try to keep a tightly sealed, forever, never, and always impenetrable hidden lock and key that I only, in absolute all of me, true form, maintain, uphold, keep, and can open ever. So, and while everyone was too busy checking out what was trending or trying to somehow desperately keep in touch with their family that's been ripped farther and farther and farther away and apart from them, and as technology and social media has advanced, has become a very codependent entity that exists now that consumes a lot of waste and energy and pollution and destruction, which is irreplaceable by anyone here, on or off the planet, who is perpetrating these atrocious, deathly, fatal, annihilating, genocidal, pun intended, selfish acts are the responsible parties here. I smoke cigarettes called Newports, and I have for over 25 years, a quarter of a century. I'm a pretty smart cookie. Do you think if I chose wisely, if I could, I would? Or if anyone opposes what I say about myself, come at me, bro, as my son would say. Come at me, bro, step. Because the only one who knows oneself is thyself, the one who is. And anyone who assumes they think they know or they heard something that could or could not be true or may not, you can only go to the source to get the absolute. So then you're protecting your own integrity so you don't place your trust in the authority of another ever for any reason. You just never give it away in the first place. Would be the wise decision and choice to make. So I try to do that in all things. Name calling does hurt. Just calling the name sometimes even. If you want to invert it or interpret it your way, have it your way. Who's the king? I don't know. I see queens and bishops on my chessboard, and I'm a pawn, aka pauper, aka homeless, penniless. So that would just technically, if I were to make just an educated guess, a shot in the dark, reach out and grab something, the exact opposite, and very much so on the flip side.